The Alfa Romeo 4C. I made a mistake with this car just a few weeks ago with one of the live weekly events. We obviously had to choose between Alfa Romeo or Lancia, what it was we were going to choose, and I chose to take out the Alfa Romeo 4C Coupe. And this car has a big problem. It suffers so badly with understeer. We spent a lot of time tuning this thing to try and get rid of its understeer, and it was a bit of a nightmare. But most recently we've obviously had the drop of Season 2, we've obviously moved over to Ibiza, and we have got the new versions of some of these vehicles, the Celine edition essentially of the 4C. And today we're going to upgrade the 4C and we're going to move over to the Celine edition of the Alfa Romeo 4C. As we can see with this thing, it doesn't stop particularly well and it doesn't turn particularly well. It suffers so badly with its understeer, so we're going to head on over first of all today, guys, to the Celine HQ and pick up the latest Alfa Romeo 4C. As we head on in, we can see already just how fantastic this car looks. I do highly rate the 4C in real life, but with this one here having a big difference, it is now four-wheel drive. With the styling, the body dynamics of this thing, the short wheelbase, and the power to weight ratio that this car is going to have, I've got high expectations for this thing. And of course, it's going to be a good investment. It is 1 million credits, but we can earn all of those back. We'll discuss on that topic essentially towards the end of the video. But investing 1 million credits into this thing, we want to see what it handles like. So first of all, we'll give it its natural test in its stock format. No upgrades, no tune done to this one. Straight out of the box, it launches off the line so much better than its front wheel drive counterpart, which is always good. We know that already. Apologies. Giving it its roundabout test, can we get a drift going on with the 4C? It's actually quite well balanced here. Let's just choose a couple of roads to see what the stock format Celine Edition 4C is truly like. Its power output isn't, it's not going to pull your pants down. It's not the fastest car we've got. We know we're going to be quite limited on power, but I think this thing is going to be built more towards the handling dynamics here. I think we're going to have quite a lot of fun with the Alfa Romeo 4C. Many of the people down in the comments of these videos have been talking up the 4C, that it is probably one of the best cars in game. So we're going to spend some time here. We're going to do as much tuning as we can. We're going to do all the upgrades that we want to do, and we're going to do some races in the 4C to see if it is as good as many people are saying. Already we can see from some of the short roads that we've taken here, it does handle fantastically well. We're of course going to give it its drift test. It could probably do with a little bit more power, but we can see we can get the little mini roundabout drift going on, much like we did previously with the Alpine Celine Edition and the Abarth 500 Celine Edition. We're giving it a little drift test. The 4C, in my opinion, also passing that test. But what we're going to do, we'll head back over to Celine HQ. We will bolt on every upgrade we possibly can to the 4C and see what it's like. So first of all, we want to get that sound test going on. How does the 4C sound? And launching instantly with all these upgrades, obviously it comes as no surprise. This thing is very, very quick off the line. Having the addition of the four-wheel drive launch, big improvement. Bolting on all of those upgrades, again giving it a little drift test as all of these Audi TTs get in our way. Perhaps the Audi TTs fearing the Alfa 4C, another four-wheel drive meta car. It does feel like this one is going to be a little bit of a power test here. We can see already up to 150, up towards 160, maybe even 170 there. Tons of power with the Alfa Romeo. The back end does kick out in us a little bit. The front end does have a little bit of understeer. But with the high level of power that this thing has now got, we're going to build together a tune to see if we can improve the 4C, the Celine Edition 4C, and to see if we can actually make this a true supercar killer. I think we might have a little gem in our hands here. I think we might have an OP car in game. Yeah, it's not got as much power as the rest, but it also doesn't have as much weight. The power to weight ratio of this thing, I think, has got the potential to be ridiculous. Given the fact that it's got such a short wheelbase, it's going to be very nimble. So over in the Ibiza map, with all these tighter races that we do have, I think we might have a little gem in our hands here. We'll get onto the freeway, we'll do a top speed run here, we'll see what kind of top end that the 4C does have for us here, hitting 170 up towards 180 miles per hour. I genuinely think, guys, that we have got a little gem on our hands here, maybe one of the broken meta cars in game, much like the Alfa Romeo, the Audi TT RS, the Lamborghini Huracan. I think this little car will be up in that category. So we're going to, what we're doing, 198, maybe 200 miles an hour will be the top end for the 4C, but we're going to experiment with this thing today. We'll build a tune for it, get a few races done, and see what this thing has. Through the speed trap, breaking 200 miles per hour in the 4C, that would be such a frightening experience in this little car. So yeah, let's experiment with this thing. I genuinely think we have got a little gem in our hands here, guys. We'll head on over to our first race for today, the Highway to Heaven, 5.7 mile clear, 100% asphalt. We are going to be restricted here, 650 to 750 RP, so we're not going to have the top end that we did just have on that freeway run. But we know already the Highway to Heaven race is one of the probably best races over on the Ibiza map. It's probably one of my favourites so far, up against some stiff competition here in the supercar category. But launching off the line, we can see the 4C outpacing almost everything, keeping up very well. As we come down into turn number 1, I thought we were going to have a little bit of a smash there. We do get rear-ended. It's always a tricky turn 1 there, regardless of which car you're in, but the 4C handling it all good so far. Coming down to the next turn, we do lift just a little bit, let the back end flow around. We know we want to cut to the right hand side here for this roundabout where we can straight line it, where we're probably going to get a screen cut. Yep, we do get a screen glitch here. Every single time I do this race, it's fine when I race it, but the recording glitches coming through that little part of the track. Don't have an explanation for it, played around with the graphic settings, can't get rid of it, guys. But in the Highway to Heaven race, I do tend to get glitches on the recording through that little section. But we'll get past that. Staying to the right hand side of all these roundabouts, we know is the fastest time here in the Alfa Romeo, having absolutely no trouble with them. A little bit of a slide on the back end, but overall handling out the early part of this track fantastically well. Now with the power delivery that we've got with this thing as well, we're launching it out of all these corners as quickly as we can into the first big right-hander here. We just managed to keep that thing out of the wall on the left-hand side. We get the power back down as we can try carry as much speed as we can through this little section here. I do have the standard tyres fitted, so we don't have a high level of grip. I chose more speeds, more power over grip for this race, especially for the latter part being the freeway section. Down into this left-hander, we had to touch a little bit of handbrake there so we didn't smash into that wall ahead of us, but we got round that thing pretty good. Alright, 7.6 seconds ahead of the rest of the pack into the left-hander here. Get the power down nice and early, straight into second gear to try and get some traction as we come down the straight up towards the big tricky corner of this track. How's the 4C going to handle the left-hander coming up ahead? We come off the power nice and early onto the brakes. The little jump that we have just there, unsettling the car. We know we don't want to hit that wall there on the right-hand side. To the right-hander, left-hander, again handling it quite well. We've still got that 7.6 second lead on the rest of the pack. As we push through here, we unfortunately tap that left-hand wall, but we get onto the freeway section with the tune we've built for this car. How are we going to, what kind of speed are we going to get with this one as we are restricted down to a maximum 750 RP? Cutting to the right hand side, we want to push back over to the left hand side of the freeway section just there. Unfortunately this time out we do not do it. Sticking to the left hand side there is the fastest way around the latter part of this circuit. But we're on the right hand side, guys. We're just going to get the foot to the floor, keep it down as long as we can. 181 miles an hour. It seems like we're topping out here with the 750 RP maxing out with a 2-minute 45 crossing the line. It's not the quickest supercar. We already know that the Caterham is the quickest car around that track, but for the most part the 4C is ridiculously good. And I do think it can be one of those supercar killers, maybe not on the longer, straighter tracks, but on some of those more intricate tracks, which we're going to have a look at now. I think this 4C is going to wipe the floor with many supercars. Heading over towards our second race for today, which will be the trip around the peninsula. We know this race, guys, that 2-lap race, 100% asphalt. This time opened up to 900 to 1000 RP, so it's going to be very lively in the Alfa Romeo 4C. Now we know we're going to have many quicker cars, perhaps many grippier cars, but are we going to have any other cars that are as nimble as the 4C? For this one, we can see this race is stacked with Ford GTs and a Lotus just ahead. As our RP is a lot lower than the rest of the pack, we do start from the back of the grid, and unfortunately we are surrounded with AI. We're getting hit on the left hand side, hit on the rear. We want to try and clear this AI as fast as we can, whipping it round that left hander. As we stick the headlights on, passing the 4GT, we are stuck now behind the Ferrari F40. As we come into the first braking zone, we have to brake early, as the F40 ahead of us did also brake early and crashes. Unfortunately, we do end up tapping the back of it, ramming the F40 just there. I want to get it out of our way so we can start to close in on the 4GT that is up in first place. Throwing it around these right-handers, we can see just how nimble this 4C is. The power down nice and early, the back end stepping out on us just a little bit, whipping it round here. Sideswiping the 4GT, we do take out first place. We want to try and stretch a lead on the rest of the pack in through the tight section here. I don't think I can talk fast enough to keep up with how quickly this thing is jumping through the slow sections of this track. Downhill right-hander, left-hand hairpin, a little bit of a handbrake, swing it round that left-hander, put the foot back down, right-hand hairpin, again a little bit of handbrake, power down nice and early. This car is absolutely phenomenal. Tricky section coming up here. We know we've got to stay nice and tight with this one. I can't talk fast enough to keep up with how quickly this car is getting around this circuit. Absolutely frighteningly fast, guys. So impressed with the Selena Edition 4C, having to lift off on the big left-hander there. We can see the understeer was taking us close to the outside wall. Come down through the little tight section. We've got this little chicane coming up here. Right-hander, left-hander, power down nice and early. Bit of a power slide out of that left-hander, crossing off lap number 1. Pick the right braking zone, turn in, just miss that wall. We tap it, not too much, it's all good. Unfortunately, turn in too early, take that left-hand wall, but we get the power down here as we pass the rest of the pack, crossing out their first lap. We push through, uphill, committing to this one, carrying a lot more speed than we did on lap number 1 as we come into the tighter sections. Left-hander just here, get the power down nice and early at the back end, just throw itself out of some of these corners. These right-handers that we've got here, the 4C's handling them fantastically well. Right-hander, get ready for that left hand again through the little tight alleyway. Let the back end, just swing round on this thing. Enjoy how the 4C kind of handles all of this. Through the little tight chicane just there, again the nimbleness of the 4C, having absolutely no trouble coming through many of these chicanes. Downhill, this hairpin once again, a little bit of handbrake, get the power on nice and early and get ready for our next hairpin just here. Double handbrake tap on that one. I did turn in just a little bit too early as we come downhill into the last little tight section just here. Again, a little bit of handbrake, let the back end of the 4C swing round on us, get that power back down. So impressed with the Selena Edition 4C, guys. I'm pretty sure most of you have already used this car. If you have not, I highly recommend this one. Absolutely love how this car's put together, tapping on the wall there through the last chicane. I love how this car's put together, how much fun it is. It's nimble, but it power slides galore. What a sensational car, guys. Crossing off lap race number 2 with another win. Fairly easy win, but as I mentioned on the build up there, I think this has got the potential to be a supercar killer, especially in some of these more nimble races like we just did there. We can see the likes of the 4GTs, the Ferrari F40s, etc. will not keep up with this car through a lot of those tighter races. Might be quite interesting to put this up against the Caterham, maybe even up against the Lamborghini Huracan. We might explore that further down the line, but for the early couple of races that we did just do there, I highly recommend this car. I think this is one of the best cars that has came to the game, especially with the update or season 2 with the Selena cars. So far, this is the best car I have driven from the Selena Edition. We'll push over to the third and final race for today's video in the Alfa Romeo 4C with a big power slide coming around the little town area just there. We'll push over for the last race for today in the Alfa Romeo 4C, and that of course will be shopping in Ibiza town. Supercar category, we know this restriction is 650 to 750 RP, but it's going to be a 2.3 mile race. Now this race is obviously quite tight and intricate once again, trying to use the 4C to its strengths here on these tighter, more intricate races. This one here, in my opinion, is going to be much in favour of the 4C. We want to launch this off the line as quickly as we can and get around turn number 1 in first place. There's a Lamborghini sitting on our outside and boxed us into that turn. Big crash there from all of the AI, compromising us just a little bit, but those guys getting tangled with one another. It looks like we're going to have a bit of a free run for this sprint race. With the tighter sections that we have here, having to lift through that right hand at the back end stepping out on us, but with the tighter sections that we've got with this, the way this thing power slides around a lot of the corners, we can get the power down nice and early, having to touch a couple of walls. I'm just having fun with this, not trying to set the fastest time. I believe that this is probably going to be the meta OP car for the supercar races over here in Ibiza. It is frighteningly fast, it's so agile, it's so nimble, but it also has that extra added factor of the amount of power that this thing has. The way we can power slide this one out of all of the corners and also carry as much speed as we can, like we can see just there, a big power slide around the left-hander. We can carry so much speed with the Alfa Romeo that we cannot do with a lot of the other supercars due to their size. This car is just, I can't speak highly enough of it, guys. I'm pretty sure you can take all of that from today's video. Can't speak highly enough of this car. Yes, I spent probably an hour, maybe even an hour and a half putting the tune together for this. I'll share that shortly. But what I've kind of built with this car, I'm absolutely in love with it. I know a lot of you guys mentioned it a few times, are also in love with this thing. I waited a few weeks before I jumped into these ceiling cars, and I'm glad I have. Getting to experience them as I have, using them now, using them earlier this week, of course, in the live weekly event. Head on over and check that out after today's video, where we did obviously set a fantastically quick time. But over here on Hong Kong Island, equally setting a fantastically fast time in the Alfa Romeo 4C, which I am touting as the supercar killer. Crossing the lap, winning out race number 3. Absolutely no issues there with the Alfa Romeo 4C. So, to kind of give a little bit of a summary to what we have in our hands, a supercar killer, definitely. Tons of fun. The power slides we can do with this thing, but also being able to control them as they are. The small wheelbase that we have with this thing, guys, we've got an absolute gem on our hands. And like I mentioned earlier, sharing the build I've kind of done with this one, focusing in more with the acceleration, we can see moving all the ratios towards the right hand side to try and get this thing through the gears as quickly as they can. A little bit of downforce added to it, of course, with the front and rear, not all too much. Don't want to unsettle the build of this car on, you know, the downforce that it has. Suspension, lowering it, not all the way, but down to 10 on the suspension size, stiffening up the springs and the shock absorbers for their compression and the rebound, trying to keep this thing as tight and settled on the road as I possibly can. When we do move over to the handling category, we can see we've also done a little bit of that as well. With the acceleration, kind of leaving that as it was, the power to weight distribution, the power distribution front to rear, leaving that at 55%. Anti-roll bars, tightening those up as I always do, 75-25 split. Camber angles, -5 on the rear, -3 on the front, again to help this thing turn in just a little bit and dropping down those tyre pressures to try and get a little bit more contact on the road. And I think it did balance the car out quite well. Then of course, when we move over to the braking, doing what I normally do, rear 75% bias to the rear with 400 brake pressure was the perfect build I had for the 4C. You guys can use that tune. Let me know what you think of it in the comment section down below. But of course, like I mentioned earlier, it is $1 million or $1 million credits we have to invest into this car, but we can make all of that back. This obviously comes with its own specific tasks. 250,000 for 100 clan races. We've already done 16. I did spend a lot of time racing this car as I was enjoying it so much, but 250,000 for the clan races, 500,000 for 50 first place finishes, that being the advanced 4C Spider tasks that we do have at hand, also getting some XP there. 100,000 for beating 100 opponents, already done 65. We're going to get that back nice and quickly. So there's plenty of tasks there to, you know, make our money back nice and quickly. Also 250,000 for winning an additional 750 through races with the 4C. So any money that we invest into this car, we're going to make it back through completing the tasks. And these are some of the tasks I do want to complete. Normally I wasn't really big on completing the tasks for credits. When we had the task there to get the Fluoro Lamborghini, I loved that. We were getting a free car for completing tasks. But for this one, with the amount of fun I've had driving the 4C, I think it's a given that we're going to complete those tasks, make back all of that investment, and just have fun using this Alfa Romeo. Guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. A bit thrown together last minute. I had to get this one put together to come out live today. It's been a very busy week as we do kick off 2025, but I do hope you have enjoyed today's video, guys. Like, subscribe, all the usual good stuff, and stay tuned for more content on Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown.